If you dig through Cold War supply manuals, Arctic test reports, or surplus clothing lists, you will run into a material that almost never appears in modern outdoor conversations. It does not have a brand name people recognize today. It does not show up in glossy gear catalogues. Yet, for decades, it was trusted by soldiers, pilots, and civil defense planners who expected to operate in cold environments under prolonged stress. This was not a jacket or a blanket, but an insulating cloth system designed to be worn, layered, removed, and repurposed as conditions changed. It worked quietly, reliably, and so well that it eventually became invisible. The insulating cloth most people have forgotten is quilted pile and batting fabric, used extensively across NATO and Warsaw Pact forces under different names. In the West, it appeared as pile liners, quilted liners, and removable thermal layers. In the Soviet sphere, it was known most famously as vatnik material, a quilted cotton or fibre batting sandwiched between fabric shells. Despite differences in fibre sources, the principle was the same everywhere. Insulation was treated as a modular cloth layer rather than a fixed garment. The strategic problem that shaped this material was not just cold, but unpredictability. Cold War planners expected rapid movement between heated vehicles, unheated buildings, outdoor exposure, and long periods of inactivity. A single heavy coat failed under those conditions. Sweat buildup led to chilling. Overheating caused fatigue. What was needed was insulation that could be added or removed without changing the entire uniform. Quilted insulating cloth solved that problem. This cloth worked because of how it trapped air. Batting fibres, whether cotton, rayon, or early synthetics, were loosely arranged to create thousands of tiny air pockets. Quilting stitched the layers together just enough to prevent collapse while maintaining loft. Unlike woven fabric, which relies on thickness alone, quilted insulation relied on structure. The cloth held warm air in place even when compressed under outer garments or webbing. Pile liners, used extensively in United States and British cold weather systems, added another advantage. Pile fabric used raised fibres that created directional insulation. When worn with the pile facing inward, it trapped air close to the body. If turned outward, it improved moisture transfer. This reversible behavior was not accidental. Manuals explicitly instructed soldiers to adjust liner orientation depending on activity level. In the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, vatnik insulation favored dense quilting with thicker batting. These garments were heavier but exceptionally durable. They performed well during long static duties such as guard posts and vehicle maintenance in extreme cold. While they were less breathable than Western pile systems, they really excelled at retaining heat during inactivity, which matched Soviet operational doctrine. What makes this insulating cloth remarkable is how adaptable it was. The same liner could serve as a jacket insert, a sleeping layer, a pillow, or even emergency padding. In aircraft, quilted insulation lined crew compartments. In shelters, it was hung on walls to reduce heat loss. In civil defense planning, similar cloth was issued as multi-purpose thermal material for evacuation kits. Applying this knowledge today begins with understanding why these materials worked better than many modern equivalents. The first step is prioritizing modular insulation. Instead of relying on one heavy outer garment, use removable insulated liners that can be adjusted as activity changes. This reduces sweat accumulation and preserves warmth when movement stops. The second step is selecting materials that maintain loft under pressure. Quilted batting and pile fabrics outperform flat fleece when worn under load-bearing gear or tight outer shells. Modern recreations can be made using wool batting, cotton batting, treated for moisture resistance, or high-loft synthetic fills stitched into fabric panels. Construction matters as much as material. Quilting should be spaced to prevent fibre migration, but not so tight that loft is crushed. Cold War designs favoured wide quilting channels, allowing air to circulate within the insulation rather than locking it into rigid compartments. This is a key detail often missed in modern DIY insulation projects. Another lesson is reversibility and breathability. A liner that can be worn inside out or vented easily adapts to changing conditions. Cold War insulating cloth was designed with movement in mind, not comfort alone. That mindset is still relevant for anyone operating in cold environments without climate control. Moisture management, really completes the system. These cloths were rarely waterproof themselves. They were actually meant to work with outer shells that blocked wind and rain, while still allowing vapour to escape. Trapping moisture inside insulation was avoided deliberately. Modern users can replicate this honestly by pairing insulating liners with breathable outer layers rather than sealed rain gear during exertion. What caused this material to fade from memory was not failure, but specialization. As consumer outdoor gear became more activity-specific, modular insulating cloth gave way to purpose-built jackets and parkas. The Cold War ended, surplus flooded markets, and the knowledge behind these systems, it quietly disappeared. Yet the principles remain sound. Quilted insulating cloth offered flexibility, repairability, and durability that, frankly, modern gear often lacks. It worked across climates, doctrines, and decades because it was designed for uncertainty. If you value historical solutions that still solve real problems, this channel exists for you. Subscribe to stay connected to deep, practical history that goes beyond surface narratives. And share this episode with anyone who believes forgotten materials have nothing left to teach us.